Today marks 59 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter in Kliptown. The Charter was the statement of the core principles of the South African Congress Alliance, which consisted of the African National Congress and its allies, the South African Indian Congress, the South African Congress of Democrats and the Coloured People's Congress. It's characterized by its opening demand, the people shall govern, and that document is notable for its demand for and commitment to a non-racial South Africa, and this has remained the platform of the ANC. For more, we're joined on the line by Nicholas Wolpe. He's the CEO and co-founder of the Lilies Leaf Trust. Good afternoon, Nicholas. Good to chat to you again.
Good afternoon.
Look, this is an iconic manifesto of the South African people. Why is it critical to preserve this part of our history?
I think it's fundamental because it goes to the heart, as you rightly mentioned a moment ago, of what our liberation struggle was about, what they were trying to achieve, and the goals and objectives. But more than that, I think it is a very defining moment in the liberation struggle because it actually, for the first time, articulates very precisely and very clearly what the wishes, desires, and aspirations of all South Africans, and I repeat that, all South Africans.
Nicholas, it's 59 years since those brave young men and women went out to collect what was called then the freedom demands. It's also Youth Month. We just marked the Soweto uprising. How do we engage our youth and keep them interested in this decisive time in our history so that they can go out there and affect change in their communities with the same zeal, with the same passion we saw in their fathers' and grandfathers' generation?
Well, that's again a very interesting point. I think it always comes back to that fundamental issue of keeping the history of our country alive, that we must ensure that all South Africans are aware of this fundamental document, which is the root of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and that it articulates the very being and essence of the new South Africa. And as you mentioned, the youth of today must be made aware of this. They must be taught it. I mean, recently David Cameron in the United Kingdom said that it is imperative now that our children learn about the Magna Carta, the document upon which British democracy is predicated and grew out of. And the same must apply here. The Freedom Charter must be a core element of what is taught in our schools and its meaning and its why it is relevant and important to understand it today in the current context.
Nicholas, what can the media do to assist? They do have a role to play in keeping this part of our history alive.
Well, I think the media across the board have a role to play. Like, for example, acknowledging and recognizing that this year is the 59th, and of course next year is the 60th anniversary, but also providing for maybe documentaries on the Freedom Charter, why it is so important, why is it relevant, how can we grow from it and use it as a guiding principle as we move forward in the 21st century. So the media, not just the media, civil society and government have a role to play in ensuring that this document is not lost. I mean, I believe that this document, next to the Magna Carta and the Declaration of Independence, is the most important document.
Nicholas, you have a vision to ultimately make Lilies Leaf one of the world's leading and foremost historical sites, and to show that Africa, we are indeed capable of delivering world-class, state-of-the-art spaces and institutions. How will you go about that? What's the way forward for Lilies Leaf? Very quickly.
Well, the way forward is really to continue promoting Lilies Leaf as a place of memory and legacy, and to show that the way it has presented our history in a dynamic, immersive and interactive fashion, and that we are, as an African country, representative of the African continent, able to show the world that we are able to present museums in a fashion which matches those in the West, that we are capable of producing and ensuring that we have dynamic, vibrant, interactive, interesting places which enable people to engage with.
Thank you, Nicholas Wolpe, CEO of the Lilies Leaf Trust. Well, time to see what the temperatures are doing in your part of the